I'm Leah Barnes. I'm 24 years old, and I want you to imagine working 3 jobs for 5 years straight, watching your bank account grow dollar by dollar, skipping dinners with friends because you're too tired or too broke, and then having someone you trust completely take every single cent of it without asking. I need you to really sit with that feeling for a second, because that's exactly what my parents did to me. And by the time I'm done telling you what happened next, you'll understand why I showed them that love without respect is just permission to be used. It started on a Tuesday morning in March, when I logged into my savings account from my apartment in Portland, Oregon, just a routine check like I did every week. I had been saving for a down payment on a small house, nothing fancy, just something that was mine. $47,000 I had scraped together working as a dental assistant during the day, waitressing Thursday through Saturday nights, and doing freelance graphic design whenever I could find the energy. My eyes scanned the screen and my coffee mug slipped right through my fingers, shattering on the kitchen floor. The balance read $3,247. I stared at those numbers until they blurred, refreshed the page 5 times, checked the transaction history with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. There it was in black and white. One massive withdrawal 8 days earlier for $43,753. The memo line just said transfer authorized. I called the bank immediately, my voice coming out high and panicked. The representative explained that my mother had withdrawn the money. She was still listed as a joint account holder from when I was 17 and first opened the account. I'd never thought to remove her. Why would I? These were my parents. The woman on the phone kept talking about policies and authorization, but all I could hear was the rushing sound in my ears. Like I was underwater. I hung up and called my mom. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "Leah, honey, what's going on?" I couldn't even form the question properly at first. Just, "Mom, where's my money? Where did my savings go?" There was this pause, this terrible pause where I could hear her breathing. And then she said in this casual tone like she was discussing the weather, "Oh, sweetie, I was going to tell you we needed it for Melissa's wedding. You know how expensive these things are." Melissa, my older sister, 28 years old, and Dad's absolute favorite since the day she was born. Melissa, who got a new car for her 16th birthday, while I got a used bike. Melissa, whose college was fully paid for, while I worked my way through community college. Melissa, who could do no wrong. I sat down on my kitchen floor among the broken pieces of my coffee mug and said, "You took my money, you took all of it, without even asking me." My mom sighed like I was being dramatic. "Don't be like that, family helps family." Melissa wanted the wedding at the Sentinel Hotel, and the dress she fell in love with was $8,000, plus the catering and the flowers, you understand. We couldn't let her special day be ruined. I asked, "How much the wedding cost total?" She hesitated, then said, "Around $65,000. Your father and I put in what we could, but we're still paying off the renovation on the house. We knew you'd understand. You've always been the responsible one." The responsible one. That phrase made something crack inside my chest. Responsible meant easy to take advantage of, apparently. I told her I needed that money. I had plans. She actually laughed. Not mean, just dismissive. "You're 24, you have plenty of time to save again. Melissa's only getting married once, hopefully," she added with another laugh. I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I looked around my small apartment, at the thrift store furniture I'd refinished myself, the walls I'd repainted, the life I'd built from nothing while Melissa lived in a luxury condo paid for by our parents. And something inside me shifted. Something that couldn't be shifted back. I called my father that evening. He was worse. "Your mother told me you're upset about helping your sister," he said before I could even speak. His tone was already defensive, annoyed. I asked him if he seriously thought stealing from me counted as me helping anyone. "Watch your tone. We didn't steal anything. We're your parents. We've provided for you your whole life. It's time you gave something back." I actually laughed at that, a harsh sound that hurt my throat. I reminded him that I'd paid my own way since I was 19, that they'd never helped me with college or my car or my apartment deposit. "You chose to do things the hard way. That's not our fault. Melissa needed us, and you should be happy for your sister instead of being selfish." The word selfish coming from his mouth made my vision blur with tears. I told him I wanted every penny back, he said. "That's not happening. The money's spent. You'll get over it. Family is supposed to sacrifice for each other." I didn't go to the wedding. Melissa called me crying 2 weeks before. Mom said you're boycotting my wedding because you're jealous. How could you do this to me? This is my special day, I told her. I wasn't jealous. I was robbed. She could have her special day, but I wouldn't be there to watch it be funded by my stolen future. Stolen is such an ugly word. They borrowed it, she said. I asked when I would be paid back. She went quiet. I don't know, probably eventually. Why are you making this such a big deal? You don't even have a boyfriend. It's not like you need a house right now. I hung up on her, too. That was becoming a habit. The wedding happened in late May. I saw the photos on Facebook because I couldn't bring myself to block them yet. Melissa looked beautiful in her $8,000 dress. The Sentinel Hotel ballroom was decorated with thousands of white roses and crystal chandeliers. The cake was 6 tiers. I counted exactly 12 groomsmen and bridesmaids. There was a live band. My mother had posted 147 photos with captions about the perfect day and dreams coming true. I sat in my apartment looking at these images on my phone screen, calculating rough costs in my head. That ice sculpture probably cost $2,000. Those centerpieces were at least $500 each. That was my money. My 5 years of exhaustion and sacrifice melted down and shaped into one extravagant party for someone who'd never worked hard for anything in her life. I didn't speak to my family for 3 months. They didn't reach out either, except for one text from my mom in July saying, I hope you're done with this tantrum. You're hurting your father. I got angrier every single day. Not less angry like they assumed I would. I kept working my 3 jobs, but now I was also researching. I learned everything I could about small claims court, about family law, about verbal contracts and parental responsibility. I documented every conversation I could remember, saved every text message. I built a case in a 3-ring binder that I kept on my kitchen table. My roommate Jenna asked what I was doing, and I told her I was getting my life back. By September, I had consulted with 4 different lawyers. Most said a case against my parents would be difficult since Mom was technically authorized to access the account. But the 4th lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Chen, who worked in a cramped office in downtown Portland, she leaned back in her chair and said, Difficult doesn't mean impossible. The money was clearly yours. You were an adult. There was no gift intended. This was theft, plain and simple. We can make them hurt. I liked her immediately. We filed the lawsuit in October. $43,753, plus interest calculated at 8% annually, plus legal fees. The total demand was $52,000. My father called me screaming, literally screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You're suing your own parents. What is wrong with you, you ungrateful little bitch? After everything we've done for you, I asked him to list one thing they'd done for me after I turned 18. He couldn't. He just kept yelling about disrespect and family loyalty. My mother called next, crying. How could you do this? You're tearing this family apart. Your sister is devastated. I told her she should have thought about that before she committed fraud. It wasn't fraud. You're being ridiculous. No judge is going to side with you over your own parents, she said, her voice turning cold. I told her we'd see about that. Melissa sent me a long email. I still have it saved. She called me vindictive and cruel. She said I was jealous of her happiness. She said a good sister would have been honored to contribute to her wedding. She said I was petty and small-minded, and she felt sorry for me. She wrote, You're going to end up alone because you care more about money than people. I wrote back one line. I care about people who don't steal from me, and blocked her email address. The legal process was slow. Depositions happened in January. My parents showed up with their own lawyer, some guy my dad played golf with. I sat across from them in a conference room with gray carpet and fluorescent lights that made everyone look sick. My mother wouldn't look at me. My father glared. Their lawyer tried to argue that the money was a gift, that I had implicitly agreed to help family members. Patricia destroyed them. She had bank statements showing the account was entirely funded by my deposits. She had text messages I'd sent to friends over the years talking about my house fund. She had my work record showing 3 concurrent jobs. She presented it all calmly and methodically. My parents' lawyer looked more and more uncomfortable. At one point, my mother whispered something to their lawyer and he just shook his head. The mediation session was in February. A neutral mediator suggested my parents settle for $40,000. My father actually stood up and walked out, shouting that he wouldn't pay his own daughter a single cent. My mother followed him in tears. Patricia looked at me and said, Good, we'll see them in court. Judges hate parents who steal from their kids. The court date was set for April, 2 weeks before we were supposed to go in. Melissa called me from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Leah, please, you have to drop this. Mom is having panic attacks. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. Their lawyer says they're probably going to lose, and they don't have $52,000. They'll have to sell the house, I asked her. Why I should care? She started crying. Because there are parents, because family is supposed to forgive, because this is going too far. I asked if she'd be willing to pay me back herself since she was the one who benefited. She went silent. I don't have that kind of money. We used everything for the wedding and the honeymoon. I asked where her husband was in all this. Derek thinks I should stay out of it. He says it's between you and them. I told her she was right, that it was between me and them. And then I hung up. We went to court on April 23rd. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling and an American flag, and that specific smell of old papers and floor polish. My parents sat on one side with their lawyer. I sat on the other with Patricia. The judge was a woman in her 60s with reading glasses on a chain. She looked tired. Both sides presented their cases. Their lawyer tried to paint me as a vindictive daughter punishing her parents for favoritism. He actually used the phrase family dynamics. Patricia presented the facts, the unauthorized withdrawal, the lack of consent, the clear ownership of the funds. She was surgical about it. No emotion, just evidence. The judge asked my parents directly if they had asked my permission before taking the money. My mother said, "We didn't think we needed to. We thought she'd understand." The judge asked if they had attempted to pay any of it back. My father said, "We spent it on her sister's wedding. It's gone. We can't pay back money we don't have." The judge asked if they understood that the money belonged to me. There was this long pause. And then my father said, "Technically, yes, but family should help each other." The judge took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. She looked at my parents for a long moment and then said, "This is one of the more clear-cut cases of conversion I've seen. You took your daughter's money without permission, spent it on yourselves and another family member, and show no remorse. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff." The judgment was $43,753 in principal, $3,500 in interest, $6,190 in legal fees, total of $54,143. My parents had 60 days to pay or face wage garnishment and liens on their property, my mother sobbed. My father stood up and pointed at me across the courtroom, his face purple with rage. "You're dead to me, you hear me? You're not my daughter anymore." The judge told him to sit down or she'd hold him in contempt. Patricia squeezed my shoulder. I felt nothing, just this vast emptiness where my family used to be. They paid in installments, small amounts that I knew hurt them, $500 here, $800 there. It took them 14 months to pay it all. Every payment that hit my account felt like vindication and grief. At the same time, I opened a new savings account at a different bank, no joint holders. I started rebuilding toward that house, toward my future. I didn't hear from any of them directly, but I heard through mutual family friends that they'd had to take out a second mortgage, that my father had to delay his retirement, that Melissa and Derek were fighting because she felt guilty. I wish I could say I felt bad about any of it, but I didn't. The final payment came through in June the following year, $143. The last bit of interest and fees, I stared at my account balance, $54,143. I'd worked 6 jobs instead of 3 to speed up the rebuilding of my original savings. I now had $71,000 total, enough for my down payment. I bought a small house in Southeast Portland that August, 2 bedrooms, a backyard with an overgrown garden, wood floors that creaked. It was perfect. It was mine. I didn't invite my parents to the housewarming party. I didn't call them to share the good news. I realized I didn't want to. My mother sent me a card at Christmas. No return address. Inside she'd written, "I hope you're happy now. You got your money and lost your family. Was it worth it?" I burned it in my fireplace. I thought about that question, though. Was it worth it? I looked around my house, at the life I'd built twice now, once from nothing and once from ashes. I thought about what it meant to be family. Whether blood gave people the right to betray you and expect forgiveness. Whether being related to someone meant accepting disrespect disguised as love. I saw Melissa one time after everything, Random encounter at a Trader Joe's in February. She was in the produce section, and we made eye contact across a display of organic apples. She looked older, tired. She opened her mouth like she was going to say something. I turned and walked away. I heard her say, "Leah, wait." But I kept walking. I didn't run. I didn't hurry. I just left. I realized I didn't owe her anything. Not my time, not my attention, not my forgiveness. People ask me sometimes if I regret it. Friends who know the story, coworkers who've heard pieces of it. They ask if I feel guilty, if I wish I'd handled it differently. I tell them the truth. I regret that it happened at all. I regret that I had parents who valued one daughter's party over another daughter's future. I regret that I had to become someone who sues their own family just to get back what was already mine. But I don't regret fighting for myself. I don't regret demanding respect. I spent too many years being the responsible one, the understanding one, the one who sacrificed quietly while other people got everything they wanted on my back. My parents taught me something valuable in the end. Though they didn't mean to, they taught me that family is not a shield against consequences, that love without respect is just manipulation with a prettier name. They taught me that sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones you need protection from. They taught me that doormat and daughter are not synonyms, no matter how much someone wants them to be. I'm 26 now. I'm sitting in my home office writing this, looking out at the garden I've spent 2 years bringing back to life. I have a cat named Murphy. I have friends who've never stolen from me. I have a career that's finally going somewhere. I have a life I built with my own hands twice over. I don't have parents. I don't have a sister. Some people would say that's sad, that I'm alone. I say I'm free. I say I'm surrounded by people who've earned their place in my life, rather than demanding it because of shared DNA. I say I learned to value myself as much as I valued them, and that's made all the difference. The house is mine, paid for with money I earned and money I fought to get back. Every mortgage payment I make feels like victory. Every room I decorate feels like reclaiming something that was almost taken from me. Sometimes late at night, I think about my parents, and I wonder if they understand what they did, if they've ever looked at each other and admitted that they chose a party over their daughter, if they've calculated the cost of that choice. I don't wonder long, though, because ultimately, it doesn't matter what they think. It matters what I know. And I know that I'm worth more than being someone's backup plan, someone's fallback account, someone's easy mark. They wanted me to be the responsible one. Turns out they were right. I was responsible enough to know when to walk away. Responsible enough to know my worth. Responsible enough to demand what I was owed and not accept anything less. If that makes me the villain in their story, then I'll wear that title proudly. Because in my story, the one that actually matters, I'm the woman who refused to disappear, who refused to shrink, who looked at the people who raised her and said, "No, you don't get to do this to me and expect me to smile and take it." So no, I don't regret it. I regret them, but I don't regret choosing myself. And if I could go back to that Tuesday morning in March when I saw my empty account, knowing everything that would come after, all the pain and loneliness in courtrooms and burned bridges, I'd still make the same choice, because the alternative was teaching them and myself that I didn't matter, that my time and my work and my future were less important than appearances, less important than one perfect day for the golden child. I matter, that's what I learned. I matter as much as anyone else in my family, as much as Melissa with her designer wedding, as much as my parents with their pride and their image. I matter and I deserved better. We all deserve better than people who love us only when it's convenient, who support us only when it costs them nothing. I deserve people who would never dream of taking from me, who celebrate my success instead of exploiting my trust. That's what I paid $54,143 to learn. That's what it cost to buy my self-respect back from people who'd borrowed it so long I'd forgotten it was mine. Some people spend that much on therapy. I spent it on justice. And in the end, standing in my own house, living my own life, free from people who saw me as a resource instead of a daughter, I'd say I got one hell of a bargain. They lost a daughter who would have done anything for them. I lost parents who would do anything to me. We both got what we deserved. The difference is, I'm not crying about it.